Hello everybody and welcome back to another Pokémon Emerald video. Today I will be playing through the game with one of the original 151 Pokémons. Personally, I have never used Golem very much, mostly because of the trade evolution. Trading was not so easy 20 some years ago. Man, I feel old. Anyway, for the rules, I can only use my starter in combat, I can't use items from my bag in battle, I can't raise my evasion in any way, and I can't use cheats or glitches. Taking a look at Golem overall, he does not seem too bad. Lots of base attack and defense, but the speed is quite low unfortunately. The typing might also be a problem since there are a lot of water Pokémons in this game. To make things even worse, I got a speed lowering nature and not so many speed IVs. So I feel the speed might become the real issue later on. For the start of the game, things are pretty easy. Most of the Pokémons here use normal attacks, and since we resist them and also have a ton of physical defense, their attacks are only going to do 1 or 2 damage each. Golem's starting moveset is not too bad. Rock Throw is a solid stab option, but it would be a bit annoying to deal with Roxanne with only that move, since her two Geodudes resist it. Fortunately, we do not have to do that, since at level 16 Golem learns Magnitude, which is a weaker Earthquake really. This move is super effective on Roxanne's Pokémons, so with a couple of attacks we can defeat each of her Pokémons. With Roxanne defeated, we get the first badge. Thanks to it, we can use Cut Out of Combat, but that move is not required to beat the game. We also have to do a couple more things around town, like doing the Pico side quest. Here we have to defeat another Team Aqua Grunt, but he is very easy and goes down in one attack. Next, before we can leave town and continue our journey, we have to deal with the optional fight against May. This time she is very dangerous. Her Wingull is faster than me and manages to confuse me, which is very bad, because that gives him enough turns to use a few water guns on me and bring my HP extremely low. At this point I thought I lost because Trico has Absorb, but fortunately she misplays and allows me to defeat her. Then I decided to try to take on Brawly. It is risky because he has the type advantage, and my only attacks are physical. But since Magnitude can deal a lot of damage, I still gave him a try. And honestly, I got very lucky at Makuhita, because the two Magnitudes made it so I could skip potions and berry ranges, allowing me to defeat it before it could set up a lot. Next we can go to Slateport, where we have to defeat a few more Team Aqua Grunts who want to steal some parts. Their Pokémons are very squishy, and so I can pretty easily defeat them with one attack. Also, Magnitude does not make contact, which is great because it allows me to bypass their Rough Skin ability, but also will be useful later when I will have to defeat Wattson, since I will not have to worry about static. After defeating these grunts and listening to their boss, we can train some more around town before we have to take on the fight against May in the land bridge. I was a bit worried about this one because of what happened in the previous encounter. Things went slightly better this time, Winkle did not confuse me, and while I still took a lot of damage, it was also somewhat safe. The only thing that surprised me is that Slakma managed to leave a magnitude. That was impressive. Anyway, now we can make our way to Mobile, where there are a lot of trainers to defeat before we can take on Wattson. The fight against him should be pretty easy. I can use Magnitude and most likely defeat every one of his Pokémons in one attack. The only sort of dangerous thing is that since I am so slow, they can often move before me and maybe could make things worse with confusion. But since they do not use Supersonic, the fight was very easy and I can sweep through it. Now that we have this badge too, we can use Rock Smash that we just picked up to reach the Meterfall Caves. Here we are informed about Max's plan, and once we are left alone, we can climb the local volcano to try to stop him. Maxi is quite annoying as a trainer. His first Pokémon is a Mightyena that lowers my attack with Intimidate. That's pretty bad for us, since I mostly rely on physical attacks. And to make things worse, he also has a Sand Attack to lower my accuracy even further. That caused me a lot of issues because I missed many times against Camerupt and he took advantage of that to bring my HP very low. Fortunately, I did not miss so many times to lose in this fight, but things could have been much worse. To think that all of that is because of a single Sand Attack. That move is so annoying. Next, we have Flannery, and since her team is mostly made of fire types, this fight should be quite easy for us. The only thing that I am somewhat scared of is her Camerupt, since I think it has either Magnitude or Earthquake. But other than that, I don't think her team can do much to me. Magnitude may not be enough to one-shot her Torkoal, especially if I get a low roll, but that did not happen this time around. And even so, Overheat could not have hurt so much since I resisted. The next gym is at the start of the game and is headed by our dad. This one should also be somewhat easy since I resist their typing. The only thing that I have to really worry about is slacking with the counter, and so I kept Defense Curl to use when he can attack. Even so, he is not helpless. He can deal some damage with Feint Attack since that move is special, and he can make things take a lot longer with Yawn. At least I managed to dodge the potion range, otherwise this fight would have lasted even longer. Once I wake up from the sleep, I can get back on the offensive and defeat his remaining Pokémons with a couple of magnitudes. With 5 gyms down, we can now use Surf to explore the rest of the region, and while doing so, we eventually stumble upon the Weather Institute. Here we find some more Team Aqua grunts harassing the local population, and to stop them, we take on their leader. Shelly is not really a challenge, and so we can defeat her in a couple of turns. Once we have rescued these people, we can get back on the road, but we are soon after stopped by our rival. At this point, May is not too dangerous. I have a very good move in Earthquake, and for the Pokémons that resist it, Secret Power should be enough to defeat them. Next up is the fight against the 6th gym leader. Winona uses flying types, which should be great for us because of the rock typing, but unfortunately rock moves in this game are very inaccurate. and even though Rock Throw has a 90% chance to hit, it feels like 50% whenever you are using it. It is a stab and super effective, so it is still worth using over Secret Power, especially against Skarmory. Overall, things could have gone much worse, so I'm glad nothing too bad happened other than the few misses. Now that we have the ability to use Fly, we can walk to the next town and challenge May in front of them all, mostly because I plan on using Substitute later for the league. Her team improved a little bit more, but the real surprise is a Leaf Blade crit from Grovyle that almost one-shots me. And it sort of makes me anxious for the league where there are quite a few water and grass types. At least we are able to clean up the rest of her team without getting attacked again, and so I do not have to lose against her. Once we had that close encounter with the Grim Reaper, we can go to the cemetery where we meet more Team Aqua Grunts and we are given the Magma Emblem. With this key item, we can get to the cave where Groudon is and watch as Maxie awakens him with the wrong orb. The legendary flees away and Maxie fights us. The fight against him is very similar to the last one. I am unable to defeat his Pokémons in one attack, and so they have time to use annoying moves on me. At least I can be happy that Camerupt came out before Crobat, otherwise I could have gone into the Volcano Pokémon while being confused. And considering that it now has Earthquake, it could have been very bad. After defeating the Team Magma leader, we can get to the Team Aqua base, but here we are only able to find another one of their admirals. Of course, we take him on, and he is not really a big challenge. His Pokémons are somewhat weak and one-shotted in one attack. Next, we have quite a bit of stuff to do that culminates in the fight against Tate and Liza. They were not very easy, and I used a couple of rare candies to increase my level, since the first few fights were close, but I did not have quite enough firepower or survivability to deal with them. This fight was a bit weird, because Claydol is super effective with Earthquake, but I still decided to let him live, because after a single defense curl, his damage is not too high. On the other hand, the other Pokémons can really chunk me with Psychic or other moves. Unfortunately, Golem cannot learn Rock Slide through level up, and so I am still stuck with Rock Throw. And considering that Lunatone and Solrock both have Levitate, it's my best option to deal with them. Thankfully, at this level, it is just barely enough to two-shot them, and so I can defeat the Meteorite Pokémons before they can become a major issue. Lastly, Claydol falls to a double edge. That move has a little bit more base power than Return, and since my ability is Rock Head, I do not have to worry about the recoil damage. For the double fight against Steven, I felt a bit evil and started spamming Earthquake. While that move is very effective, it also destroys Steven's Pokémons. But in a surprising twist of events, in the second turn, Aggron used Protect, so I could freely use Earthquake without having to worry about it. At last, when the two bat Pokémons came out, Earthquake is no longer effective, so I can switch to Rock Throw to try to defeat the floating demons. Of course, that is easier said than done, because I get confused and hit myself a few times. Eventually, we can get a couple of attacks through the confusion and finally end this fight in our favor. At long last, once we have defeated these guys, we can get the dive HM from Steven. With this move, we can get below the sea in the dark spots, and we have to immediately use it to reach the seafloor cave, where we can see Kyogre still asleep. Here we are reached by Archie, who plans on awakening it, but we try to stop him with a duel. Somehow the fight against him is a bit less annoying than the other ones. I still get confused and miss a bunch and even get flinched by Bite, but since his damage output is a lot less than Maxi, I do not have to worry about losing. Eventually we can take down the last of his Pokémons, but unfortunately that is not enough to stop the end of the world. The red orb activates on its own and awakens the legendary Pokémon, and with both Kyogre and Groudon using their abilities to change the weather, the situation is not exactly great. And so we go ask Rayquaza, the legendary green snake, for help. Fortunately for humanity, it is more than willing to help us deal with the other two legendaries. And once we saved the planet, we can go back to our badge collection and take on the last of the gym leaders. Juan uses water types, which generally are a problem for Golem, but because of my relatively high level compared to them and the strong stab move in Earthquake, I am able to one-shot them before they can do anything. Well, that's the case for all except Kindra, who manages to sneak in a water pulse that does more than half my HP. Ouch. Once we have defeated him too, we now have all of the badges, and so we can make our way inside of the Victory Road. Here we are stopped by Wally, whose team is not so bad to deal with. The only annoying part is Altaria, since it flies and is immune to Earthquake, so I have to defeat it with a double edge. For the rest of the team, I can spam Earthquake and defeat them in one shot. Once he is defeated too, I can clear the rest of the Victory Road to earn a couple of extra levels, and then I attempted to get in the league. I expect the fights in here to be very tough for Golem for a bunch of different reasons. Starting off with Sidney, he leads with Mightyena that lowers my attack with Intimidate. That is quite bad for me because I don't think I am able to one-shot many of his Pokémons with my attack so low. So I tried to use the rollout strategy, which started off very well. I was able to defeat many of his Pokémons, but then I missed on Shiftry, and here is where things started to go bad. While I was missing him multiple times, he had the time to break my substitute, which usually is not that bad. But then I got swaggered, and I think you already know what's coming. Between hitting myself and spending HP for another substitute, my health got very low. At least, since I am now at +1 attack, I can defeat his last Pokémon with a single rollout. Things did not go as expected, but I guess could have gone much worse. Phoebe is next, and at least for this fight things should be a bit easier. I used the substitute to be immune to Curse, and from there I started spamming Earthquake. I'm a bit impressed that it was enough to one-shot even the second Dusclops, and so defeating the remaining Pokémons in her team is not going to be any hard, especially because I can move before Sableye, so no double team strategy here either. The third Elite Four is Glacia, and she proved to be a lot more challenging than I expected. I barely don't have enough damage to one-shot her Wolverine. Meanwhile, it is able to defeat me in a single surf, assisted by Hail. Another option was to use Rollout, since that move would do a lot more damage, considering that it is super effective and it also ramps in power very fast. Unfortunately, I don't think I have enough attacks to reach Wolverine at max power, and so I attempted to start rolling at a different point, not the start of the fight. It is still risky because Rollout has a 90% chance to hit, which means that 1 in 10 attacks is going to miss, and if it does, it resets the power. Long story short, I reached Wolverine with only a level 2 Rollout, but it was enough to defeat it in one attack, and so I can finally get through her. Next is Drake, and this fight was hard too. His Pokémons are very fast and have a lot of damaging moves. Once again, Rollout is probably the best option here, considering that many of his Pokémons are immune to ground, but the missing problem is even worse, because only a few of them are weak to rock. I tried to keep a substitute alive for Salamence since I do not want to deal with Intimidate, but that was not possible as I got outsped by many things and it got destroyed very quickly. I got a bit lucky to never miss with Rollout and also not get paralyzed, so in the end I was able to hit the Salamence with a powerful Rollout to one-shot it. Now that we are done with the Elite Four, the only thing left is the Champion. But as you might expect, he is by far the biggest challenge in the game. Many of his Pokémons are very fast, and plenty powerful to one-shot me with one attack. I tried it a few times, but I did not see this happening at this level, and so I left to grind a bit more. I came back not at the max level because I got bored, honestly. I still have a few rare candies in case I need them, but hopefully I don't. At this point, my damage output is more than enough to deal with his Pokémons, and so I went back to Double Edge. One of these days, I should really write down the speed stats for the problematic Pokémons in the game, so I know when I can outspeed them or not, because this time around I got very lucky being able to outspeed all of the threats in Wallace's team. And by spamming Earthquake, I can defeat them before they can get an attack on me, which I'm sure would still hurt a lot, like this Gyarados proves with a simple Surf. Fortunately, I am able to survive it and defeat it the next turn, to finally become the champion of the Hoenn region. Golem was not too bad, but as expected, the 4 times weakness to water proved to be a big problem in the end. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, press the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, and all of that YouTube stuff. If you have any comments, video ideas, feedback, or anything like that, write it down below. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Bye!